Hey there, everybody. Pete here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another edition of Perfect Albums. In the co-captain's chair today, Mr. Guitar Hack himself, all the way from the Great White North. What's up, Hack? How are you?
Not too bad, man. How you doing?
Doing all right. Keeping busy, taking no prisoners,
Yeah, man.
That's the mantra around here. Keeping everybody busy, including
Busy.
myself. It's like as busy as I am trying to put together content, I get plenty of people saying, Pete, I can barely keep up with you. It's like
Yeah,
I have to take a vacation so I can watch all the videos you've been pumping out. So
yeah, man. You're really going at it. That's awesome.
yeah, it's a good thing. So as we've done in 3 previous episodes, today Hack and I are each going to talk about 5 albums that we love a lot, that we think from start to finish, absolutely perfect, no skippable songs. He's already revealing some stuff I see over there in the corner.
I got it.
And he and I have not compared notes or anything like that. So
Yes.
see what he comes up with here. So Hack, I'll have you start with your number 5.
All right. No, my number 5 is one of my favorite bands of all time.
There you
Cult.
go. The Cult, Sonic Temple.
I actually did a video a while back ranking the Cult records. This did not end up as number 1, but in terms of song, because usually sometimes it's not necessarily your favorite records that become perfect records, because there's songs on other records I like more. But as a unit, this is listenable all the way through. I mean, everybody knows this record. This is sort of the record that broke them, right? This was Bob Rock, 1989. And a lot of songs off of this became radio staples. Edie Chow Baby was the big hit. Sweet Soul Sisters on here, Firewoman.
Firewoman's all over the airwaves. Yeah.
Yeah, man. This record was, I mean, great follow up to the Electric record. This record for me is like they took the Love album, they took Electric, and they kind of meshed them together. Anyways, great record. There's not one. I mean, I would say the weakest song on this is probably Wake Up Time for Freedom. That being said, it's still not a skip. The guitar playing on this, Billy Duffy, is one of my absolute favorite guitar players. He just crushes it, this whole record. It's riffs, it's great songs, great playing, big sound, Bob Rock. I mean, yeah. That's my first one. Sonic Temple, The Cult.
Yeah, and your point is very well put about how a perfect record doesn't necessarily have to be your favorite album by that band.
Yeah,
Because I agree with you 100% that sometimes an album is your favorite because maybe there's 3 or 4 songs that
exactly.
you absolutely adore, even
Exactly.
though another one of their albums, start to finish, might be way stronger and absolutely perfect. So yeah, a great couple songs can elevate an album.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Even if you got a couple of duds in there, man, the other ones could just, they're so crushing that, you
Yeah,
can ignore that one bad song on there. So yeah, for sure.
absolutely. So just out of curiosity, what was your number 1 Cult album?
My number 1 was the Love record.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, a lot of that was my introduction to the band. And I mean, there is a dud or two in there, but as a whole, like, I mean, there's just so many really good songs on that record. Yeah, that was, man. I mean, I remember 85 being in college. She Sells Sanctuary. Whenever that came on, I would lose my freaking mind. That was like the greatest thing I ever heard in my life. It was wow. Yeah.
Well, when that album came out, when Love came out, I was into really heavy. I was into thrash and Slayer and Metallica and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And when I heard that, and I know a lot of my friends were into it, I was kind of like, not my cup of tea. And I didn't actually start to get into the band until Sonic Temple. And then I went back and was like, you know what? Love is actually really, the older stuff is actually pretty damn good. But at the time I was kind of like, no thanks.
It's funny you mentioned that, because the reason I love Love and why it grabbed me is because it wasn't 80s hair metal.
It was different. Yeah.
It was different. It's like, oh, finally these guys are doing something different, and that's what, because it's not really a heavy record at all.
At the time, they really didn't fit in anywhere.
Exactly. That's why
really, I mean, even to this day, when you think of the Cult, I mean, the big album that you just showed is basically just a really good like 80s hard rock record. But you listen to those albums before it, what was that?
Well, they were the thing. They went through so many changes. Like every record, it was like a new identity for the band, right? I mean, I can talk about the Cult forever, but excuse me, Electric. They were kind of coming out of the, the post punk British goth thing,
Yeah.
right? That's where that came from. And then they just took a complete right turn or left turn, and they got with oh god, what's that producer's name? It's escaping me. They did the Electric record, which was just as dry as possible. It was like, visit ACDC land. And they did that. And so that was like a complete departure from Love, which had a lot of chorusy effects and reverbs and so on. And they just went straight ahead, dry guitar. And then they meet Bob Rock. And then it's sort of like now they have that atmospheric thing going, but they now have a much harder edge. So it's like, that's why Sonic Temple, I think, was so successful. It was like the marriage of those two albums, kind of put together.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the records after that, Ceremony's great. I mean, there's a bunch. I love the Cult.
Yeah, Ceremony's good. I kind of lost touch with the band after Ceremony. I guess I started listening to other stuff, but yeah, definitely a good band. All right, my number 5. This came out in the early 70s, 1974, as a matter of fact. This would be the biggest selling album from this guy. He actually came from a band called Procol Harum, and he discovered his love for Jimi Hendrix and put out a debut album, which did okay, but it was the second album, Bridge of Sighs, by Robin Trower. Of course, it's that one right there. Which became, everybody's favorite Robin Trower album. It became like one of the guitar albums of its time, and still to this day, pretty damn spectacular. And again, not my favorite Robin Trower album. I know when I tell people that, most of them are like, really? Because most people say Bridge of Sighs is the best Trower album. I actually like the album that came after it, For Earth Below, just a little bit more. But, Day of the Eagle, title track, In This Place, Fool and Me, killer song. To Rolling Stone, which became a live staple for him to this day. What else? About to Begin, Lady Love, and a little bit of Sympathy. And, most of the tracks from this album became live staples or, concert favorites forever. And I love the guitar tones on here. I'm a huge fan of him anyway. But I think that even though I like For Earth Below better as an album, this album, start to finish, you don't skip anything. It's just absolute perfection. Production is great. It's psychedelic. It's hard rock. It's bluesy. The vocals of Jimmy Dore are amazing. It's just, uncanny stuff. So that is my first choice, Bridge of Sighs.
Cool. Now, nobody's already picked this on your show.
Oh, good one.
Okay. So, I mean, I always love this record. I love Journey. This happens to be also my favorite Journey album. And the thing is with this record, I mean, there's been a million singles. I mean, Don't Stop Believing has been played to death. But despite that, that is song. Can't say it's a bad song. I mean, it's been played to death. But the deep cuts on this, I mean, the title cut, Escape, is insane.
Oh, yeah.
And that's like them going back to their roots. It almost sounds like old Journey, you know what I mean? And I mean, Mother, Father's crazy, Lay It Down. Of course, Open Arms is the other big ballad on this. But again, there's no weak songs on this. Dead or Alive would probably be the weakest, but even that.
Oh, Dead or Alive kills.
Exactly. And that's it's these guys are master songwriters. There's so much going on. There's hooks galore. I mean, every song you hear, it's like the chorus will grab you, or the pre-chorus will grab you, or the just the opening riff, like Stone in Love. Oh my God. And Neil Sean's playing on this is insane. Great musicians. I mean, just the bass, everybody, Steve Smith. I mean, just an absolutely fantastic record. It's got the mellow kind of, the Steve Perry vocals. I mean, he's one of the best singers ever, as far as I'm concerned. But there's a little bit of some R&B kind of in his. He's a he's got a lot of R&B in his voice, but but even the mellow stuff, it's so hooky that it's undeniable. I mean, just great songwriting, great performance, absolutely phenomenal band. And yeah, perfect album as far as I'm concerned, right there.
Yeah, I mean, there's actually a few albums by that band that are pretty damn close to perfect, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. I love Journey, so that's a good choice. I would argue even that Frontiers, which came after it, is also, if it's not perfect, it's pretty close to
Pretty
perfect.
damn close. Yeah.
Yeah. And Infinity, for me, if I were to pick one Journey album that I think is absolute perfection, for me, it would probably be Infinity. And Open Arms, I was never a fan of that. That's probably the only song off of that album that I don't care for, that I skip every time. But man, yeah, what a run! That I love Journey. I love Journey. So that's a great choice.
Favorite records, I'll tell you what puts that one over for me. Stone of Love is one of my.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
For me, it's Stone of Love, it's Mother, Father, and the title cut. Those three songs are just off the charts, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Great choice. I love Journey. I love Neil Sean, man. What an original guitar player too.
Amazing player, man. Yeah. Amazing player.
He's like, I sometimes put him in like him and Steve Lukather.
Yeah.
Kind of in the same place. They're both really unique. Nobody sounds like them. And man, they're two of the best cats on the scene that people just don't talk about enough, right? Everybody talks about the great guitar players of all time, and they name everybody else, and they always forget those two guys. And those two guys are just as talented as anybody else.
Like, for me, the beauty about a guy like Neil Sean is he's the perfect marriage between technical ability and just being super melodic.
Yeah.
I mean, his solos make most of those songs. You take Neil Sean out of that, if he didn't play any solos on that record would be limp. You know what I mean? It's just his solos just elevate, and we talked about that in another show about how a guitar solo will take a song that's already great and just send it. Yeah. Neil Sean does that every time. Just an absolute beast of a player.
And the solos are so well thought out, but they perfectly fit in the songs, right?
They're insane.
Absolutely. All right, my next choice, actually, 3 episodes in, and so many people were asking, Pete, I can't believe you haven't picked your favorite Deep Purple album yet. Well, that's because I saved it for a future episode. Here it is, Deep Purple in Rock. All right, the first studio album with Ian Gillan and Roger Glover in the band. This is the beginning of the Mark II era of the band. This is arguably, I don't know how many people would argue it, but their heaviest album. This is raw, in your face. Richie Blackmore cranked up, distorted guitar riffs, John Lord, distorted Hammond organ, Ian Gillan's wailing vocals, Speed King, Bloodsucker, Child in Time, Into the Fire, Hard Loving Man, and then you throw the single Black Knight on the end of the CD, which this album should have always had anyway. It doesn't get much better than that for me. I always cite this is my favorite Deep Purple album, and there is, for me, nothing skippable on here. It is like slam, bang, intense, in your face from start to finish. And, subsequent albums, you would see a little subtlety coming in the band's music. They do like a little bluesy thing, a little jam, a little playful kind of Dylan-ish thing like Anyone's Daughter or something like that. But this album, it just cranks from start to finish. And I love it. It's just, one of the albums that started this whole heavy movement for sure in rock is my pick number 4 for today.
Cool. All right. This one is super predictable. Very, very predictable. Right. I mean, this one is so obvious, and people will say the weak song on this is Rock and Roll Ain't Noise Pollution, right?
Yeah. Well, for me, it's that big hit song, but that's okay.
But it's a good song. It's not a skip. For me, it's not a skip. The whole record is crushing. I mean, what can you say? Every riff, every groove, it's perfectly recorded. The band is tight. Angus, the vocals. I mean, it's a perfect album. I mean, you can't say anything bad about this record. Every song is cool. It's just this, AC/DC, do the songs sound alike? Yeah, But on this record, they're all very cool, very listenable. And I'm telling you, if you put this record on when you're driving a car, you're getting a speeding ticket. I mean, it's like,
And it brings back a lot of memories, right? Because I think we all drove around listening to that back when we first got our licenses. And
oh yeah, shoot to
right?
thrill. I mean, you shook me all night long. Okay, it's been played to death, but man, I always love shoot to thrill. That's probably my favorite song.
Oh, shoot to thrill is great. Yeah.
You know, shake a leg down. I mean, you can hear the riffs in your head just naming the songs. That's how memorable this album is. I remember when this came out, 1980. I remember when this record came out, and I know a lot of people really like the previous record with have Highway to Hell, but I always kind of like this one a little bit more. You know, I've always, because again, it's like I got into AC/DC with this record, so I don't have that affinity with Bon Scott. Love a lot of Bon Scott stuff, but I don't have a problem with Brian Johnson singing. And yeah, absolutely fantastic record. You cannot say anything.
And a great shit hot production too from Mutt Lang on that
one.
Oh
man, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like everything just it's a friggin' steamroller, you know. Every song just kicks. The guitars sound amazing.
Yeah.
The tone. I mean, there's this is sort of the benchmark for guitar tone, right? You know, Marshalls and SGs and Gretsch for Malcolm. Yeah, just
one of the best comebacks from a tragedy ever in rock and roll history.
Yeah, exactly. Talk about the worst possible circumstances, and they come out with that. I mean, that's insane.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, my number 3. Another very cool 80s album that when it came out, I was kind of like, all right, how's this new singer going to fit in this band? And then put the album on. I was like, oh, pretty damn good, pretty damn great. And then before you knew it, he was gone. And I was left crying like, oh my God, I want to hear more of this. I'm talking about Michael Schenker Group, MSG, Assault Attack with Mr. Graham Bonnet on vocals. For me, the best Michael Schenker Group album ever. For me, the best vocal performance from Graham Bonnet ever. And I love Schenker's guitar tone, his riffs, his solos. I mean, the title track, Rocky to the Ground, Dancer, Samurai, Desert Song, Broken Promises, which totally rules, Searching for a Reason, Ulcer, the instrumental at the end of the album. It's just one banger after another. And to this day, all these years later, I mean, Christ, I was listening to this when I was a teenager. I still put this on and it gives me chills at how good it is.
Yeah.
And, when I go see Schenker live, I want to hear as much of this album as they can possibly play because I still love it. And I love the 2 albums that came before it. I do. But man, this one for me just absolutely destroys it. And, great Martin Birch production too. It's just a fantastic album. And it's from Mr. Schenker. That's I could even argue those first 2 albums are pretty damn close to perfect, but this one was a no-brainer for me.
All right. So this one is probably pretty obvious too.
Some people predicted that. We had a couple people in the comments of another video that I announced you coming on. They're like, Hack is going to pick Mob Rules.
Really?
Yeah.
I have to, man. I mean, so not only is this my a perfect album, but this also happens to be my favorite Black Sabbath record. I mean, come on. So they got E5150, which is, that sound effect thing, but that when Falling Off the Edge of the World kicks in after that, it's like you can't listen to Falling Off the Edge of the World without having that ahead of it. So it's funny because the running order is completely wrong here on the back. But I mean, come on, Voodoo, The Mob Rules, Sign of the Southern Cross, Slipping Away actually got airplay here when this record came out.
Oh, really? No, not here. Wow.
Oh yeah, I tell you that and of course the Mob Rules got airplay. Those were the only 2 songs that got airplay here. Country Girl, Turn Up the Night. All right, so this album has a song Over and Over, which is the last song on the record.
Great song.
So you're gonna say, okay, well, that's kind of the clunker. All right. Tony Iommi plays his ass off. That's got guitar solos like crazy on it. And Tony Iommi is one of my favorite players. I mean, and he really goes to town on that song. That's what makes that song. Yeah, there's not a dud, nothing skippable. The riffs on this record, I mean, are insane. Voodoo, I mean, I used to do a thing called Riff of the Week, and I played Voodoo one week, and uh, his riffs are tricky, man. His riffs are tricky to pull them off and make them sound right. They're tricky. But anyways, yeah. So your commenters were correct. Yes, I had to go with the Mob Rules. Absolutely love this record. First Sabbath. Was this the first one I bought? I don't know if it was this one or Heaven and Hell, but it was one of those two. And I saw this tour actually. I saw this tour
Yeah.
with Ronnie. Yeah, absolutely.
It's funny how the production of Martin Birch is so much different on that album than it is from the Heaven and Hell album. Like they don't really those albums, other than it's Ronnie singing, those albums don't really sound too much alike.
This, like, if especially speaking of slipping away, man, it is so fat.
Yeah, it's
It's
bottom end, like
bottom end, just boomy, but it's not. It's tight though. It's still tight, And yeah, I love the production. Everything about this record is amazing.
yeah.
I
So
mean,
what's interesting is you were talking before about E5150. So the US version has E5150 leading into the Mob Rules, and Falling Off the Edge of the World is on side two.
wow.
Well, I wonder if it's different. I mean, they do that a lot because I know there's a lot of UK, the track list and a lot of the UK releases is totally different than it is here.
No, it's. I mean, unless I'm crazy, because I do have the record here. Oh, you know what? You're right. I was wrong. It is in front of the Mob Rules.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know why I was thinking Falling Off the Edge of the World. Yeah, it's a lead into Mob Rules, which is the last song on the first
On
side.
the first side, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was curious because, like I said, I've seen that before where they changed the sequence in different territories. So that was
Yeah,
just
like the sequence on the back of the record is just, I mean, doesn't apply at all to what's on the record.
yeah,
Random.
great album. It's funny. Sabbath is one of my favorite bands of all time. Yet, as much as I love them, they have very few, for me anyway, absolute perfect albums. Because even on the albums that I love so much, there's a song or two that I'm like, but I love everything else so much. So
That song on Heaven and Hell for you.
yeah, probably Lady Evil. I'm not nuts about Lady Evil. It's
I thought
okay.
I thought you would have said Wishing Well.
Yeah, and I'm not crazy about Wishing Well either. Those two, everything else I love. I like those two songs. I don't love them. And so that's why I wouldn't consider Heaven and Hell. To me, I think Mob Rules is more of a perfect album for me, even though I may like Heaven and Hell a little bit more. Right. So, but yeah, like even like my favorite Sabbath album of all time, which is Volume 4, I don't really like Changes. Right. Like,
Yeah.
those couple little instrumental things are like, whatever. Same thing with Master of Reality. Same thing with Paranoid. I don't really like Planet Caravan. It's like, and so, there's Sabbath Blaze Sabbath is pretty close. But then again, I don't really like Who Are You, right? So like all those classic albums, there's like at least one track that I'm like, I'm not really nuts about. But Mob Rules, there's no skipping on any song on that album.
Yeah.
So
No,
that's a good choice.
I love it. Love it.
Good choice. All right, I'm going to go kind of left field here a little bit. I don't know if anybody would have envisioned I would pick an instrumental album, but I actually am going to right now. So Mr. Jeff Beck, Blow by Blow.
Yeah.
I mean, this is like, and I could have picked Wired too, because Wired for me is pretty much perfect too. But this album is just so freaking beautiful. I mean, it's like, it's got everything that is so great about Jeff Beck. It's got, he's those quirky, crazy solos, the off-kilter kind of phrasing and whatnot, the great melodies. There's a mix of covers and original stuff on here. And it's really jazzy. Of course, he was listening to Tommy Bolin and the Mahavishnu Orchestra and all these other acts at the time. And he kind of got the bug, right? He wanted to do something similar. And there's just so much beauty in this album. And again, you don't skip anything. And it's like as soon as it's over, you want to play it all again. I mean, you know what I mean? Because we've ended as lovers. She's a Woman. Just gorgeous. Some of these great covers on here. Freeway Jam, of course, was the big hit on here. Just, I mean, I can mention every single song, every single track, but it's so amazing. And his guitar tone is just like, it's so sweet.
Yeah, what's cool is I've been finding a lot of clips, live clips, like on TV shows and stuff, of him playing in that period with the Black Les Paul.
Magic, right?
Yeah. Yeah. There's one show, it's kind of, man, I don't know. I was going to share it on my page. He's playing on this show, and halfway through this, the host comes over and he's doing, it's almost like a gear show. He's asking him what kind of guitar, what's that for, what's this for, it's like a rig review right in the middle of it. So, and he was doing a talk box on that as well, but it was weird. It was like a bag, it's a hose into it. It's like a weird thing, right? Anyways, explaining everything, and then he played another song. It was very cool. It's very cool.
Yeah, such a great player. I mean,
oh man, Jeff Beck's a beast.
And this is back from the day when he was still using a pick, which of course he hasn't for decades now. But just amazing how he's just one of those guys. You talk about like those unique players in rock history, or even not rock, just music history. I mean, has anybody ever sounded like this guy?
No.
He's not someone you can copy, and he didn't sound like anybody who came before him. Just so unique and always like reinventing himself.
Yeah.
He's done the bluesy thing, he's done the jazzy thing, he's done hard rock and funk and like techno and industrial. I mean, he's just been like all over the place. Maybe one of these days he'll come out and he'll do like an all acoustic album. Could you just imagine that?
Yeah.
So he did rockabilly too. So he's done everything.
Acoustic, man. That'd be crazy.
Yeah. He doesn't strike me as the kind of guy who's much of an acoustic player. So,
but if he did it, he'd blow your mind. That's
of course he would. Yeah. Hell yeah.
He's going to blow your mind.
Oh yeah.
All right, this is, I guess, very predictable too. But this is my totally unskippable album.
Aha! Look at that. Had to have some Kiss today, right?
I had to pull out some Kiss, man. So if you remember when we did our top 10 Kiss records with when I had my friend Mike on, Mike and I both chose this as our favorite albums. I mean, I'm looking at the track listing here, and probably people would, say Cab Driver or See You in Your Dreams would be the weaker tracks on this. But, or not Cab Driver, sorry, Baby Driver. But the thing is,
I love Baby Driver.
Exactly. I mean, Peter Criss,
underrated song from them. Oh man,
Peter Criss's vocals and Ace Frehley, the licks he's playing throughout the song. I mean, it makes it great, and it's got that. It's just so driving, literally, Baby Driver. See You in Your Dreams has got a fantastic Ace Frehley solo in it. That's kind of a song. It's a little bit of a mishmash of a song. Gene Simmons ended up redoing it on a solo record. He actually had on the solo record, if I'm not mistaken, Joe Perry and Rick Nielsen play as guest players. But I still prefer
pretty good rendition of it, though. I think.
I like this version better.
Oh, I agree with you, but the remake was not too bad.
It's not bad. But this version, I know. But I mean, come on, like Calling Dr. Love, again, Ace Frehley solo. I can say that about 100 times, but that I Want You's on this, Making Love, and this has like my favorite Kiss record, Kiss song of all time, Mr. Speed, never performed live. Never on any compilations. I don't know. Best song they ever wrote. Paul Stanley song. But yeah, this is for me the absolute talk. You're mentioning records you could put on any time and listen to. This is the one for me. This is Kiss in their absolute prime, man. Everybody singing, everybody playing. It's a band record. There's no outside folks in there guesting. It's them playing the music. And Eddie Kramer, of course, produced it. Perfect album for me.
Yeah, I dig that album quite a bit. And I actually haven't heard that in a while, so I think I'm gonna have to try and find some time to play that tonight, because that's a really fun album. And
it's a great record.
It's not my favorite, but it's definitely like a top, 3 to 5.
Yeah, you were Hotter Than Hell, I think, right? Wasn't that your
Hotter Than Hell is my favorite? Yeah, but that's right up. Hotter Than Hell for me. Destroyer, that album, Love Gun, the first two. I mean, that's, those are really my favorites. But I also love Creatures of the Night a lot. And
Creatures.
I like Dynasty, man. I don't know.
I love Dynasty too, man. I love it too.
Yeah.
Good songs.
Yeah.
I even love it. I love Unmasked.
Yeah, I'm not big on that as much, but
It's
I
not
mean, there's some
everybody's
good
cup of
tracks on
tea.
it. But yeah,
Got some great songs on it, man.
yeah, there are a few good ones. Yeah, I agree. But I that's a great choice. I definitely want to listen to it because I haven't played that one in a while. So good choice. All right. So for my number one for today, here's another example of a band, and I love these guys. They're probably my third favorite band of all time. Who have an album that I absolutely love. It's one of my favorite albums of all time, but it's not quite perfect. But this album, which came before the album that I'm talking about, is top to bottom absolutely incredible. Don't skip any song. I remember when this album first came out, I listened to it constantly for months, and I didn't think they would ever top this. And then the next album came out a couple of years later, and I was like, holy crap. And that, that became one of my favorite albums of all time. But there's easily one track on that album I just don't need to listen to. And there's another one I've heard way too many times. Anyway, the band is Whitesnake. The album is Slide It In.
Oh yeah.
I mean, this is just, and I'm talking for all of you folks who are watching from across the pond over in the UK. Sorry, I like the US version a little bit better. It's got a little bit more balls to it. They added John Sykes in at the end. Nothing wrong with the UK version because they're basically the same songs. But, obviously, you had Mickey Moody on the album instead of John Sykes, and they did a little touching up and things here for the US. But I know this one really well. I've heard both versions, and the other version is fine too, but this is the one I know. I mean, the title track, Slow and Easy, Love Ain't No Stranger, right there. Does it get any better? 1, 2, 3 to kick off an album? I don't know. Then you got All or Nothing, which kicks all sorts of ass. Gambler is one of the most underrated songs from this band. Guilty of Love, great, accessible, bluesy. You got Hungry for Love, another really good meaty blues rock tune. Give Me More Time, great melodies, great hooks. You got Spit It Out, heavy as all hell, and then Standing in the Shadow, which is another really underrated song from this album that just really ends it in a great way. Excellent production from Martin Birch. Jeez, we talked a bit about Martin Birch today.
Martin Birch is
produced a few of ours, right? Jeez.
Yeah, I got him on one of mine.
Yep, I'm 2 of mine. So yeah. But yeah, Slide It In, to me, this in the other album I'm talking about obviously is the self-titled 1987 album, which is one of my favorite records of all time. But like I said, there's a song or two that I skip on there. The rest I absolutely adore. This, boom, 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 1 through 10.
Yeah.
Totally killer. Totally killer.
Guitar rock. Awesome.
Yeah. So that's it. That's what we got.
Cool.
Pretty cool. So down in the comments below, folks, of you who are watching, list some more of your favorite perfect albums. And again, remember the criteria is you don't skip any song on it, and you can listen to it over and over and over again. And each track is just musical bliss that you love and look forward to listening to each and every time. Remember, not every album is perfect. There's lots of albums that we love that, you know what, we love them, but there's a track or two that don't work for us. So that's
favorites are not necessary.
If you're on the fence about any song on the album, it's not perfect.
Exactly. Yeah. Cool.
So I want to thank Mr. Guitar Hack for joining us today. He and I were talking before we started taping today. He's actually going to join me on an episode of Dream Set List at some point this month. So he and I are going to figure out which band we're going to do that together with. So you'll see various of the different personalities here on the channel will be joining me here and there for the Dream Set List show that's happening daily this month of March. So stay tuned.
Thank you again for inviting me on, man. It's always fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will be on Guitar Hack's channel in 2 weeks.
That's right.
Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, 2 weeks, folks, on my channel, Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern, live. Pete and I haven't asked Martin yet, but hopefully Martin will join us, and we will be doing a countdown of our 5 favorite Aerosmith records. So that'll be in 2 weeks.
So stay tuned for that over on the Guitar Hack channel. If you haven't checked out that channel, please do. A lot of cool content over there, some little tips and tricks on guitar stuff if you're a guitar player, as well as discussions with musicians and folks like myself and Martin Popoff, just talking albums and cool bands. So make sure you go over there, subscribe, and give Hack some love. So for Guitar Hack, I am Pete Pardo. Stay tuned, everybody, for the next episode of In the Prog Seat coming up momentarily. So we'll see you all there. Have a good night, everybody. For Guitar Hack, I am Pete Pardo. Good night.
Cheers.